Hey guys, I'm Jody,
And I'm Justin.
and we're Board Game Perspective. And today we're bringing to you the game Tawantinsuyu, the Inca Empire, published by Board and Dice and designed by David Tercey. This game plays 1 to 4 players, and it says around 1 to 2 hours. And it's definitely on the heavier end of the spectrum for games. But in this game, you're going to be doing a lot of different things: constructing steps, statues. You're going to be trying to expand the empire through conquest, crafting tapestries, and much more.
So let's do an overview and then we'll come back up and give you guys our thoughts.
So this is going to be a general overview of the game, so don't use this as a detailed how to play. So this is the overall setup. Got the game board, the tile in the center where you're going to put your priests. You got workers in the village and the nomads, tons of different resources out here, cards, statues, tapestries, buildings. You're going to put markers out here to keep track, and you got your own personal starting supplies. So the goal of the game is to get the most points, and this game is going to be played in 3 festivals. So there's a lot of different ways you can get points, some of which are moving up on the temple track. You got statues that you can turn in for points, conquests, tapestries. There's a lot of different ways to score points. I also want to mention that everyone gets their own player aid, which summarizes a good amount of the rules. So everyone is going to be taking turns back and forth, and on your turn, you have 2 main options of things you can do. The first thing is placing out a worker onto the board, or you can do 2 different secondary actions. So the first thing you can do is place a worker. In order to place a worker, you're going to have to play a card that has a matching symbol. And as you can see, there are lots of different kinds of symbols on the board. So if I wanted to place my worker here, for instance, I could play this God card, which has the matching symbol, so I could put my worker there. Or if you say you did not have a matching God card symbol for the location you wanted to go, you could instead pay a gold. You also might have statues in your play area, which allow you to get extra benefits whenever you play God cards. So this is a matching symbol, so I can now get this benefit down here when I play this. In addition to having to play a card or gold to go on the symbol that you want, there's also a couple other worker placement costs. The first one being the roaming cost. The roaming cost is in relation to your high priest. So if I placed in this section where my high priest is, the roaming cost would be 0. But if I roamed further away, so here and here, it'd be 1, and if I went even further, it would be 3. And then there's also the descending cost. So the descending cost is in what terrace you are. So if you placed here, then that's going to be a 0 descending cost, then 2, and then 5. And those roaming costs and descending costs are paid with potatoes or corn. Now you can also, throughout the game, place steps. And there's multiple locations on the board where you can place steps. Now, you could place your step there, or an opponent could. But what the steps are going to do are they're going to decrease the cost that you have to pay for the descending cost. So it might be 2 less potato or corn, and sometimes the owners also have a way to get points as well. So after paying all the costs associated with placing the worker, then you can take your action. And so there are different ways to figure out how many tasks you can take. But wherever you place your worker, it is surrounded by 3 tasks. So there are lots of different kinds of tasks that you can potentially achieve. So there's all these are just mainly resources. You're getting 2 corn, 3 potato, so on. This lets you build some statues. You can build buildings, build tapestries, get different army cards, build steps. There's a few more as well. Now, if I were just to place this red worker here, this would only let me activate 1 task, in which I would choose whether to do this, or this. However, there are other ways to be able to perform multiple tasks. For instance, the green workers, if you place a green worker on a green spot, then that triggers an additional task. Now, if there was already a green worker on this location, then it is adjacent, and adjacent workers allow you to perform even more tasks. So this example, I would be able to perform one task for just placing the worker there, another task for the matching color there, and another task for adjacent. So I could activate all 3 of these tasks. And there are some other scenarios that allow you to do multiple tasks as well. Now, if you do not want to place a worker on the board, instead you can perform 2 different secondary actions. And those are moving the high priest, so your high priest up here, you can move 1 or 2 steps to activate it or just gain a gold. And another secondary action is praying, where you take 2 god cards from the supply and add it to your personal play area, or take 2 warrior cards and choose 1 to keep. And lastly, you can take 1 worker from the nomads for free. Now, if you chose to move the high priest for one of your secondary actions, there are a lot of different things you can do here. So some of these locations, like these right here, are different ways that you can move up the temple track by turning in statues or paying corn. This lets you do conquest, you can rejuvenate cards and activate cards. So the conquest action from the high priest secondary action deals with these 4 corners of the board. These are the different conquest areas. So conquest is a way to put out some of your conquest markers to claim different things. This corner happens to deal with mainly resources, but other corners might deal with more god cards, tapestries, or victory points, and so on. So in order to do this, whenever you do conquest, everyone has the option to pay to play out their army cards, and they have different amounts. So this is 1 worker here, and then 2. So what those are going to do is you have to discard 1 worker or flip over 1. So there's different ways you can do. So for instance, let's say I wanted to do this one right here. I wanted to claim this to get all those resources. So I would have to discard 1 worker there and then flip over to satisfy 1. Technically, I could have 1 more, but I needed to use that to do that because I really wanted to do that action. So then this would be flipped over in my play area. Now, the first festival takes place 1 round after the village here is emptied. And during the festival is a way to score some points, get some more resources, and it's also used as a cleanup phase as well. Now, after the 3rd festival is over, then you will actually proceed to end of game scoring. And there's different ways to get points as well. Some examples are your tapestries, how far you are on the temple track, points for buildings and cars, and some other things as well. And then everyone will tally up their points, and whoever has the most points is the winner. So, Tawantinsuyu. I'll just say it, I like this game. I like hefty games and worker placement and lots of stuff going on. And I enjoy this nice big board and all the pieces and lots of different things to do. Yes. What are your thoughts?
Well, you guys may know at this point that I am not a big fan of this type of game. Big, beefy, lots of stuff going on. So, not my cup of tea.
But I got you to play.
But you got me to play. She got me. Yeah, she reeled me in. So, I played. While I don't necessarily like this type of game, this one wasn't super difficult to catch on to. I was able to kind of grasp the majority of everything fairly quickly. And, one of the things that I really enjoyed doing was actually, building the little statues. It gives you kind of a little engine to gain more resources and things like that too. So that I enjoyed doing. I did do that quite a lot. Ended up doing okay at the game. So it wasn't difficult by any. I didn't feel like it was super difficult.
Yeah, which I'm surprised because this has a lot going on. I mean, you see the player aid here. There's a lot in this player aid. But I mean, at first it can be overwhelming. Like, oh my gosh.
It was definitely.
But once you get a few turns in, this is actually not overwhelming. It's kind of just a nice resource, and I think even for you it was. Okay.
It obviously helped. My issue with this type of game is I don't love having to reference a player aid every single turn. That's what bothers me so much about it. So
I like it.
It's just like, but in general, I thought the game was fine. Again, it's not my cup of tea, but
I liked it. I liked it a lot. I enjoy just, I know this definitely can be an analysis paralysis game because there's like so many different spots to go to in the symbols. And you got to figure out if I go here, I could take this task or this task. Oh, but I got to pay that cost. I enjoyed it. I do have this spatial issue that we talked about where I struggle with like polyomino games, and like there's a spatial element of having to figure out the cost if I'm here and go all the way. Yeah. So I had to had to double check me on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just really enjoyed it. There's a lot of different ways you can try to win the game. You can work on the temple track, getting way up high. You can do a lot of conquest. It's just, I just really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I liked it. If you like heavier games, definitely check this one out. This has a lot of options, a lot of things to do. Obviously we got worker placement going on here when you're placing out your workers, but yeah, I liked it.
And if you don't like heavier games, don't be afraid to play it because it's not like overwhelming to try and grasp everything.
You made it through. So.
I made it okay. Yeah.
Yep. So that is Tawantinsuyu, guys. I definitely recommend it and check it out, especially if you like more meaty games. This is definitely I really enjoyed it. So yeah, if you guys want to help us out, hit that subscribe button and like this video. And thanks for joining us today, guys. Adios.
See ya.